Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Belén Benavides, but everybody calls me Belu. I'm the marketing manager from Athenaworks. Before we start, for those that doesn't know us, Athenaworks is a diverse woman-led tech company based in California, but we are 100% remote. So for example, I'm in Argentina right now, and within the company, we have people from Brazil, Uruguay, Mexico, Italy, etc. So while we're waiting to the rest of the people to join, why don't you share through the chat? Where are you coming from? Hi, Maru. How are you? Okay. So glad you're good. Lety from Mexico. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. This webinar is only for an hour, so please stay tuned until the end of the session. The Q&A section is going to be during the last 5 minutes. Hi, Fabi from Mexico. Wow. Argentina. This webinar is only to be for an hour, so please stay tuned until the end. And the Q&A section is going to be at the end of the session. So feel free to write your questions in our chat, and we'll circle back to them when we end. Just for you to know, we're going to record this conversation and upload it to our YouTube channel, and we are going to share it throughout email, so everybody can have the information that we're going to talk about today in case you'd like to watch it again. So right now, I'd love to present our speakers. We have Maru Rivero, our SVP of Delivery. Maru is a software engineer with more than 16 years of experience. She joined at Athenaworks in 2021 and has a drive for excellence through our delivered projects and building teams to be inclusive and diverse. And we have also Lety Hernandez, our VP of Talent and Culture, here at Athenaworks. Lety has 17 years of experience in human resources, organizational development, and change management, and has helped companies to scale up local and global teams, even from scratch, all around the globe. Hi, Lety. Hi, Maru. Are you there? Yes, there you are. Thank you for doing this. Taking the time. I would love you to say something about yourselves, but first we are going to share a poll so everybody can answer the question that it suits better for you about what scaling means. So, and meanwhile, Lety and Maru are going to say something about themselves.
Awesome. I can introduce myself in the meanwhile. My name is Maria Eugenia. I'm from Uruguay. I live in Montevideo, Uruguay. I'm a mom of 2 little kids, and I'm a techie lover. I love technology. My area of expertise is in backend and infra. And I define myself as a software engineer who is agnostic of the technology. I'm not married to a particular language or a particular cloud or a particular solution. I always said, and the people who knows me, and if you're here, you're gonna be listening to something that I always say is, it's everything regarding the paradigm and the problem that we want to solve. Based on that is the ecosystem of technologies to be used. So that is my mindset regarding technology. So a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Belly, for the invitation.
Thank you. And what about you, Lety?
Thank you for the time for being here, and welcome everybody. I'm Lety. I'm Mexican, not only because I was born in Mexico, because of choice also. I love Mexico. Love the food, love the weather, love the place, love the family and the culture that I have been growing up in. And I am super grateful for being here. As Belu was saying, I have some experience in the people and culture area, and particularly in scaling teams, which is going to be a super interesting topic for today.
Awesome. Thank you, Lety, for that introduction. You guys, don't forget to answer the poll, because I'd love to know what you think about what scaling means for you. Okay, so in today's webinar, we are going to talk about scaling products, and I want to know, what do you think about it? Let's see which is the answer, the most common answer at least. Okay, everybody is shy today, no one is answering. So maybe we can continue. Spoiler alert, all the options are correct in our opinion. Exactly, all the above. So for us, all the answers are correct, but the way of using it, the way of using the word scaling or scale, it depends on your background and the role you're fulfilling within your company. Everybody uses the word scaling within the tech industry, but with different meanings or intentions. And this is something that the three of us discovered while we were discussing the matter, and we thought like, okay, this is a great topic to talk about in our next webinar. So we're here to discuss the differences between vertical and horizontal scaling, but within three different point of views, answering the following questions: the what, the who, and the when. And each one of these main questions represents the technical, the team, and the business point of view. So that being said, I would love to jump into our first question to Maru. And Maru, from a technical point of view, now you're an engineer, so from a technical point of view, how can we strategically enhance our services to improve system performance and capacity to easily handle a sudden increase in user demand without suffering?
I love the part of without suffering. Yes. That is what we all are looking for, right? Excellent question, Belu. This is a very good question to introduce all of us on the concept of what scaling means from the technical perspective, right? We have two different models for application scalability. We have the horizontal scalability and we have the vertical, as you mentioned at the beginning. The vertical is scaling up and the horizontal is scaling out. And what does it mean? So what is out and up differentiate one each other? The vertical scaling is adding more computer power to the resources that we have today. Mainly that could be traduced into adding more hardware. And horizontal scaling, which is scaling out, means adding more capacity to the resources that we have today, or adding more resources to what we have today. Each one has its own pros and cons. For example, in vertical scaling, you don't have the high availability of your system if you are not planned carefully with that. So depending on your solution, depending on your maturity stage, is the alternative that you could use to be able to scale on demand without affecting your performance. That is a key here, and that is the main topic why we are doing this webinar. And I love the idea of being able to discuss this further, the other questions with you all.
So you were talking about the performance and the efficiency of it. So what are the things that you have to do or must to take into account
for performance? Yes. We need to understand that when we talk about performance or we talk about availability and scaling, it's not a matter of just one thing. Scaling is a big box with a lot of things inside. And these things that we have inside is related to performance, is related to reliability, is related to security, is related to cost. Yes, money, 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 money. And is related to being able to automate the process, all the previous one, as much as possible. Why performance? It was related to the first question that you did to me. We want to improve performance to be able to serve a service, an application, a user in a more efficiently manner. But having performance is not the same as having efficient performance. There are two different things. And maybe you're asking why there are two different things. They sound like the same thing. No, because being efficient when we are doing performance means being intelligent in the way we use the resources, not over provisioning them, not being or wasting more of what we really need. So all those things are variables that we need to have into consideration to be able to define as strategic for scaling our services. And how do we do that? The first thing is we need to assess. We need to understand where are we. We need to understand where do we want to go. So we assess how everything works today. We measure, we need metrics. We need to understand if our services are responding in the manner we want to respond them. We need to plan based on all the new strategic. We need to execute. And once we execute, we gather feedback and we measure again, we adjust, optimize, and execute again. So those are the things in a very big perspective that we need to take into consideration when scaling. This is a science.
Okay, thank you, Maru. And Lety, what are the things that you have to take into account to scale your team, like in a team point of view?
You know, the very first thing that you have to consider is that we both, the technical perspective and the people perspective, even that we have a very similar approach to escalating, it's not really the same. When we in people talk about escalating, we also have vertical escalation and also horizontal escalation, no? And when you talk about horizontal escalation, you try to talk about upskilling people and to close gaps, technical gaps or competencies gaps, or yeah, sure, technical knowledge gaps that people in a certain team could have. And when you talk about scaling vertically from the people perspective, it means to bring more people into the team, okay? And that is the very first thing that you have to consider when talking about scaling in the tech industry in general. And now the second thing is that now when you're talking about scaling, there are some things that as the people person, I have to consider. The first thing is when you are scaling a team, you have to find cultural fit or not. Okay, why? Cultural fit is important for the client and for us, and that we can share common ground like values and competencies in common, yes. But sometimes in Athenaworks, we are trying to find people that not necessarily share the same background, so we can enforce diversity, no, which is really important. Also, when scaling, we also consider the team performance and how a new person could affect the team performance. And also, the third thing to consider when scaling up a team is to have a solid selection process based on competencies, not based in any uh, other thing that could be seen as a biased selection process. We in Athenaworks particularly, we try to always find the right fit for the right position, but based only in technical knowledge and abilities and competencies, and not considering any other thing that is not one of these that I just said, that I just mentioned.
So the first thing is to take into account which are those variables that you need to look to in order to understand how do you are going to scale. And Maru, what are the steps that you should take to embed that design to scale mindset into our development process and ensure that scalability is part of our roadmap from the very beginning?
You know, I was expecting this question.
Yes. I know.
Yes, because the way I see it is not necessary from the beginning, right? What it means being from the beginning of what? So it depends on the maturity stage of our product. It depends on in which moment of our product are we. Sometimes start thinking about the steps to scale from the beginning, it's not worthwhile, because at that moment what we need to guarantee and we need to focus on is creating a product that people usage, creating a product that could be sell in the future. So the idea of having a design to scale mindset, of course, is crucial, and that it's something that all technical areas should have into consideration, because if it's too late, it's too costly. But the good thing about this is, even if it's not from the beginning, it's something that it could be feasible, understanding which is the company goals, right?
Right.
And these steps are related to that, to which are the variables that we are measuring, where do we want to go, and with that in mind, we can plan which are the next steps to go there and be able to scale in a very controlled way. That is, again, not always possible, but at least we have it into the roadmap. We have visibility, we have the big picture, we are working on that. Again, it depends on the maturity stage or phase of our company, of our product. Because if we are trying to build a product that works, we are not going to be thinking about scaling, because we need to build the product first. If we are, for example, a healthcare company and we already have a system and we are migrating to a new system, the maturity of that industry, the maturity of that product already is known, already has been measured, or they already know how many users they have. So in that case, yes, we need to have the scaling mindset from the beginning, because at least I need to respond in the same way that the older application was responding, and beyond that. So again, it depends on the business goals. Of course, it depends on the budget, but that is the idea. The idea is we need to know which are our goals from business perspective, and we need to plan based on that. And as I was saying, the previous answer is assess, measure, plan, execute, gather feedback, and optimize based on that.
Excellent. So speaking about a plan, how do you do that plan? How, in terms on what does the team has to do to make your product scalable and create that positive experience?
Yes, that is a question. That is a tricky question, right? Because we don't have an answer, and if someone has the answer for that, they discover everything. Because there are so many answers, as many paradigms, and as many products, and as many problems to solve. Of course, inside of the main variables, as I was saying today, we have performance, security, reliability, cost of operations, automation. Of course, they're always under those main pillars. but we need to understand where are we today, and we need to understand in which maturity level of the product we are today. We need to understand which is the paradigm of the problem that we want to solve and plan aligned to that. We need to understand is based on our budget that it's something that we can effectively, is feasible, it's something that we can do or not. And try to negotiate with ourselves and with business, because business rules, people, we are here to serve business. So we need to generate the roadmap and gain visibility. That is the first step. We need to have visibility to where we want to go and build based on that.
Awesome. And Lety, what about how do you plan a scalable product from a team point of view?
You know, just as Maru was saying, if there is someone that has find the right way to plan, escalation is going to get very rich sooner. You know, it's not something that it's magical. Every single client, every single team has their own way of working. So planning ahead sometimes is kind of difficult. You have to find, just as in the technical perspective, regarding the maturity of the business, we have to take into consideration the maturity of the team and the performance of the team and the history of the team, and if it is the right moment for them to develop, for example. And once the stage of the business and the goals of the business and the time frame are identified, we have as people to go and check the stage of the team, the goals of the team, and the time frame for the team also, and put it in the very same table and talk about those topics. After that, as people, we just make ourselves enablers of the process. We start the internal search and the external search for the right people with the right profiles in order to scale up the team. And or for example, when we find the right person which is in another team but has certain gaps, in order to be assigned into a new project, we try to close those gaps in advance, in order for the person to go into the next assignation and then do their best. If there are no necessary uh, gaps to fill, we just run the new assignation and close the open position. And then after we close the position, we have a closer look into the performance of the person and in the performance of the team. We are kind of those enablers and those companions throughout the process, not only before the need arrives, but after the gap was filled. So those are kind of like the very three stages of the planning, of planning a scaling, when scaling a team from the people perspective.
Awesome, Lety. And if you're talking about the abilities that your team needs to have, like which abilities are needed to build, develop a scalable product that generates a good end user experience?
When in this case we are talking about horizontal escalation. When, as I was saying before, in this case, we are not really talking about vertical escalation when growing up a team, but just to develop the very same team that you already have. And here our vision is, 360. We do not focus just on the current needs, but we focus on bringing new talent that can grow along with the client as well. We also have in Athenaworks the Own Your Career initiative, which is the vision that we have. We do not try, we are never going to try to make people be part of a project that is not going to present challenges and to develop skills for themselves. The vision that we have is that we are a safe space in which people can develop themselves, and we are enablers not only for the client but also for our Athenians. So once the Athenian came into Athenaworks, has to know that based on their performance, they are going to have access to development programs, and then therefore we are going to be scaling up the team in the current position that they are holding. We also have another programs, but all are performance related, because in Athenaworks we do have a performance culture. Uh, our cycle runs through the year, and we have really different feedback stages. We consider the point of view of the client in order to close gaps, as I was saying before. No, but we also have technical perspective, in this case from Maru and so on, in order to close the gaps and to continue to scale the team and just allow the Athenians to grow within a safe space, you know?
Yeah. Awesome. And Maru, what do you think about which are the abilities that you need to build to build or develop the scalable product to fulfill the goals that our user experience influence? Like,
Yeah, here, yes. Sorry that I interrupt you.
yeah,
This is not always related to user experience influence. Of course, many of our application and services at the end they serve a user as a user interface, but not necessary, right? We have algorithms that process information. We have a lot of things in the middle. The important thing here is that we must have into consideration the abilities, as I was mentioning today, availability, fault tolerance, and performance, among others, latency. Having them over the table, having these topics over the table when the company decides to start thinking and planning about the scalability is crucial, because it generates visibility about those ones. And when we talk about scaling, we are talking of scaling the resources that are used by our services that provide a service to an end user or to another user or to another company. So the focus is how can we work on these abilities to provide more capability and capacity to our resources who serve the services, who serve the applications. And of course, getting a better user experience is a good consequence of a correct scaling strategy.
great. And Lety was mentioned something about how to scale up a team, horizontal and vertically. And Lety, which individuals are required to build that dream team, and what specific skill sets are essential in your opinion?
Well, regarding the individuals, particularly in Athenaworks, we do have a focus on including the client on the selection process. Okay, have a really good selection process, not only for the cultural fit or not perspective, but also for the technical perspective, and we include the client in the decision. We do have different business models, but we actually take care of in all of them to the feedback of the client in the selection process. And what we try to do is to feel the abilities that are not only essential for Athenaworks, because we do have values and we do have a competencies model in place, but we also take care of what is important from the client perspective, you know, and which abilities are they looking for, because they are not only the candidate is not only going to get into a new project, into a new client, is going to take part sometimes of a work sale into the client's room, but sometimes they are going to have to work along with other Athenians, and having the right abilities not only for us but also for the client is kind of like crucial. So we do not have kind of like a list, but this is not a bad practice, uh, because we look for what is in the list of the client and we look for that after.
Awesome. And Maru, what about the skill sets from the technical point of view, or the requirements that those individuals or team members needs to have?
I always focus this is very, very related. It's like with what just Lety mentioned. We must be aligned. We are totally in the same page when talking about skill set and profiles. When we talk with different companies and partners or clients, the things that we try to visualize when defining tech skills and defining teams are which is the current knowledge base that the company has today, based on technical skills, overall tech stack is what I wanted to say. The idea is to build a team that could be maintainable in the time, right? Could stay long term, and the cost of building that team. There are technologies that are more expensive than others based on demand, and also take into consideration how are we going to be able to maintain that in the future based on which is the knowledge that I have based on that technology, which is a team that I have related to that, or the client already has another team that is using that technology, or this technology already is new for the customer. And the last one is the one of the most important one is the budget. So all of them are different ingredients that we put together that are our variables, and they indicate the path to go, regarding that.
Awesome. So you can find different challenges in order to scale.
Yes.
And regarding scaling a product or a team, but from a technical perspective, for example, in a particular case, when you have like a peak for an increasing demand, what would you do?
That is for me.
Yes, that is for you.
Sorry. Why did I do to address a rapid user base? Okay. When we have a peak, they normally respond to different events, right? But I categorize the peaks in two different areas. The first one is I have a peak and I didn't have that estimated, and it was a big surprise, right? And I wasn't prepared for that. That is a pain point, not being prepared for a peak. On the other peak, respond to a known event that is repeatedly or is it in repeat given a specific period of time. Examples: Christmas. If I'm selling toys for kids, I have a peak on Christmas. Black Friday, I have another peak there. So there are particular events that I already know that are repeatable in time, but I can prepare myself for that. The unexpected events that generates peaks are the ones that are more danger or painful in that manner. What happens with the peaks? We have two different strategies to attack them. One is using vertical scaling and the other one is using horizontal scaling. What happens with the vertical scaling? Remember, vertical scaling, it's adding more compute power to the resources that I have today. And we are talking about hardware resources. So I have, for example, Black Friday coming next month. I'm going to add twice of memory to my server. I'm going to add twice of storage, but I'm going to be using that only for 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. So I'm wasting, right? I'm investing a lot of money in something that I'm only going to be using for 24, maybe 48 hours, or if I have the entirely week. But that is very, very short time compared to an entire year of working product. So it doesn't have a very a pros having a vertical scaling there. I'm a fan of horizontal and cloud solutions. And here for Pix, for example, it's very good because on cloud, you can hire or use the resources that you need for that particular moment. And you can even automate that process to be able to scale up and scale down once all that peak start to decrease. So you need to be prepared for unexpected things. Having an automatically scaling approach is the best path to go. Scaling for pre-evaluated and calendarized events, you can use both vertical and horizontal. The pros of horizontal is that you can use more capacity on demand and release it once you don't need it anymore. On hardware side, you hire it, you buy it, you bought that extra memory. So now you have capacity that is not getting used.
Okay,
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, it did. So do you think it's necessary to be on top of trends and emerging technologies to ensure the results when you have those peaks, for example?
This question is like, Candice, in this season, in Halloween. Yes and no. One thing that we need to have into consideration is we don't need to be on the top of the wave all the time. I don't know if I was clear with that expression, but it's not that we need to be or using the latest technology or the latest thing. We need to understand that all those latest technologies are built based on known languages, on known paradigms. Java, Python. Python used to be the number 3 language in the 10. And today, almost 13 years later, Python is the first language in demand in the market. It's the same language. It's the same paradigm. What it changed is all the things that are built over that language. So the brick is the same one. We need to understand what happens behind sense. There is no magic here. There is always a brick. And being able to have that understanding and to be able to understand how things works behind. Of course, these bricks are much better today than 13 years ago because they do a better usage of computer resources. That is for sure. But the paradigm is the same. So being able to understand that, it will help us to build architectures to scale aligned to our business goals in a very efficiently manner, right? Having into consideration the variables that we mentioned previously in the previous question that you were asking to Lety and me, was having the correct skill set, having into consideration the budget that we have in place, which is going to be the strategy to build a team. All the same things come together, and it helps us to define this architecture, which is the one that is going to be helping to scale our products.
So to sum up, scaling is necessary, but the way of doing it, it will depend on the solution that you're trying to build. So that being said, when do you think is the right moment to scale, to put all the things we've been talking in motion? Do you need to have to scale a scale plan, from the very beginning? Do you contemplate that within the product roadmap, or you can take care of it when the problem is already there? What do you do in those cases?
No, we want to tackle this before the problem arises, right? That is before. No. I don't want that to pain. I want to be prepared. Of course, in technology, we have the uncertainty all the time, so we are not always prepared as I was explaining for the events, right? It's not. I think it's not a matter if to scale yes or scale no. I think the answer is scale yes, sure. We want to scale. Scale is good. Scale means more users using our product. Scales means being able to sell our solution and having more clients, more customers. Scales means having more demand, and we want to have more demand. We want people. We want others use our services. The topic to discuss here is exactly what you are asking. It's about when. When is related to the maturity level, when is related to goals, when is related to maturity level of the team, when is related to budget, right? And scale is good to have it in our radars. And there is a moment when we achieve that maturity level. It's something that must be in our roadmap.
So it all depends on the maturity level of the business, basically. And Lety, when you scale, what are the main nightmares you need to avoid from a team point of view?
I think there are a couple of things. Just as Maru was saying, I was just writing down a couple of ideas that I found. It is very important to find the right sizing. It's kind of difficult sometimes to say in a plan when you have to be doing the upsizing of the team or the downsizing of the team. Just as in the technical perspective, how am I able to run in a peak if I have not these previous things already done? But what am I going to do after the peak passes? So we have to be prepared for right sizing, not only going up and down all the time, just because of there are going to be some peaks. No, that is one of the things that I just came aware of. And I think there are other things that are important nightmares to eliminate, from the very beginning. First thing first, right person for the right position. We are not going in Athenaworks, we do not try to find a person for firing the person just a couple of months after. We just want to grow along with the person, and that the client grows along with the team that is hiring. Second is time frame, and of course, when it makes business sense, grow up the team and scaling up the team vertically. But when it does not make business sense, just continue to grow and to scale horizontally, closing gaps and creating a good team that can support your current operation. And third, optimize and measure the people that you currently have. You do not have to have a team of 120, or you do not have to have a team or 1,000 teams in order for you to scale. You can scale even having just one person or two people in the team. Those are things that are important from the people perspective.
Awesome. And what about the nightmares from the technical perspective, Maru?
They are really fun. We are here to solve problems, so we love them because it means that we have something to work on and solve. Which are the pain points and nightmares? The pain point is the pain point that the customers have, right? And which is how to scale. But to be able to do that, we need to, I'm going back to one of the first questions. I'm sorry, but I don't remember which one in particular, that we were talking about to plan, assess, measure, assess, measure, plan, execute, gather feedback, and optimize and measure again. Why measure? Because if I don't know where am I today, I don't know how can I build that plan to go to the place I want to be. How can I measure? Perfect. Let's define, let's build a team. There is particular roles that are in charge of performance testing, load testing, and we can see how our ecosystem behaves based on different particular environment. We can simulate those environments. So we can generate simulations where we can put our system into that pressure and measure. Based with that information, we can adjust. Of course, we need to have into consideration the time frame. Why? As I was mentioned today, business rocks here, and we are here to respond to business. We cannot say, "Hey, no, let's move. Let's ask to move Black Friday because we are not going to be able to support them." No, you are in or you are out. There is no choice there. And then we have traceability. As Lety was mentioned also, once we have everything put in place, we need to generate traceability of everything that it's going to be executing, because we are investing money there. We need to have a ROI in the middle to understand what is going on and how to maintain that in the future, and how to traceable all the systems that we are generating and we are building and we are scaling. So I think that is the combo of three main topics or a key aspect to have into consideration. Maybe it's not a nightmare. It's to avoid being in the nightmare space or something like that.
And which are the risks that you could have when you are scaling a product, a digital solution?
The main thing about risk is not being prepared. Of course, there are some times where we are not going to be prepared. It's going to be a surprise and we are going to be suffering during that moment. But that should be converted into a learned lesson, right? Which is the risk of scaling itself doesn't have a risk. The problem is when we do not scale, or we scale and we realize the strategy we put in place to scaling was not good. But again, as I was saying before, we need to measure, we need to evaluate, simulate our scenarios. We need to adjust, and based on that, we need to measure and apply those changes that we are seeing, that we are getting a good results. The main reason of not scaling is not being able to scale our business. And that is a big pain, because we need business to be on business.
So that was our last question. So to sum up, what we can conclude is that it's not about if we need to scale, but when.
When
is important thing to take into consideration. So do you want to add something about, there is any question that I missed out maybe during this session, and something that you want to add?
I think it is really important to consider, what does it make business sense? You know, as we were saying during the webinar, it is not a matter of if you are going to scale. Your business is growing, so it's not a matter of if, but when. And to get to know the when, you have to have a partner that can enable those kind of answers, you know.
yes,
And find the things that are just right for your business model, just right for your moment and the maturity level of the organization that you are in, the maturity level of your product. So to find the response, to find the right answer to what is making business sense now, in order for me to scale, it's going to be one of the very first and most important things that you should consider when having a partner. And the second thing is, do not forget that it is not only about just scaling and growing and growing and growing and growing just because. It is about right sizing, and it is about having the right people and having not only additional people, but to have absolute knowledge that the people that is currently in place is going to be growing as you are growing. As
Mm-hmm.
you continue to do both, then the scaling is going to be not a risk. The scaling is going to go through a success. That is the thing that I just wanted to add as part of the conclusion.
I love it. I love.
So meanwhile, the company grows, the person is also growing, and that's, I think it's great. And what
That it's
about
a
you, Maru?
win-win. That it's a win-win for sure. One of the things that we believe in, and we it's not only believe that it's what how we do things here in Athenaworks is a bidirectional matching. It's finding a client for a person and a person for a client. And why is that? Because we really believe on building our career, building a place when you have a purpose and you can provide that purpose to the place, and the place provides you a purpose. It's a cycle of feedback, mutual feedback. And another thing that I wanted to mention to add to what just Lety mentioned that is beautiful and is perfect. Scaling is an art, because as I was saying today, it's a matter of finding the correct architecture and technical solution using the correct tech stack, taking into consideration all the variables that we were mentioning today. So there is no rule. The idea is to go along with the different customers and the different partners and execute that journey together, going along together during that scaling approach journey, because there is no rule. It's an art where we have technology, we have infrastructure, we have products, we have a lot of things that we put together.
We are now, we have 5 minutes left. So maybe you guys on the other side of the screen, if you want to ask a question to Lety and Maru, be my guest. They will be happy to answer them. It's Halloween. Any horror story about scaling? Fabricio said.
No, the horror story that I have regarding scaling is not using, for example, an auto scaling approach in a cloud environment. So the horror story was when the invoice arrived at the end of the month. That was a horror story. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
We have another question here, Cande. How do you foster effective communication and collaboration between different teams, such as development, engineers, and product managers, to ensure a cohesive approach towards scalable software development? Wow, that's a big question.
Yes.
Do you want me to repeat it?
No. I mean, I don't know. Lety, do you want to answer here or?
Wow. I was just thinking first in my Halloween horror story.
Go ahead. We all want to know that.
So sorry, but it's because it was a really horrendous story. I had
Now you
there
have to
there was
share
a
it.
time when a client, not in Athenaworks, but in another company that has this rush for scaling up, and we found ourselves trying to find 50 people in order for them to grow for the next month, and we found those people, and by the end of a couple of months after, the person told us that it was such a huge amount of people, and they wanted to make their roll back and start
Whoa.
firing people. So that is why I was just saying that it is very important to find the right time and to find what makes real business sense and to find the answers to those questions. Because scaling up, yes, you can scale up to 50, 150 and 3,000 people, but then you are going to have to roll back,
Yeah.
and that's awful.
No, that is something that you're going to be able to maintain
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah. See, yeah. Well, those are kind of like the questions. Now, of course, I'm going to be reading the next one, so sorry.
I can start with that, Lety, if you want, so you can
Yeah, sure.
think about it. Foster effective communication here in Athenaworks, as we are a remote global distributed company, is crucial. As a remote company, it's crucial to have an effective communication and being able when something is needed during our work hours. How can we execute that? We follow agile methodologies. Using agile methodologies, we are able to build different teams with different skills, different talents, and different potentials in a way they can generate a good synergy between them and support them, because our goal is to create a global remote community. And the way to be able to do that is generate a diverse team that can communicate and follow an agile methodology. We have found, I'm a fan of agile methodologies, that's the first thing, but I think that is the way, not by the book, because we are human beings, we are complex systems. We are the most complex system in the earth. So having only one methodology that works for all the complex system, that doesn't exist. So we need to adjust, and we need to find different ways depending on the team needs, depending on what are the channels that the team does usage of for this communication.
Building over what Maru was saying, I also think communication is key, and I think in Athenaworks, what we do is to create a safe space, as I was saying before, in order for everybody to have a voice and to speak up. If there is something between developers, engineers, product managers, leadership team, or so on, every single person is able in Athenaworks to speak up and say what they are thinking. And we do have a culture of open doors, even virtual open doors, because it is important that every single person that thinks they have to communicate something, they can do it. And that is something that in Athenaworks we are enforcing a lot.
So thank you, girls. Like, we are right on time, but we have a last question. So how do you strike a balance between developing scalable software and meeting tight deadlines in a fast-paced business environment? That's a really good question, I think, because deadlines sometimes might not be feasible, like we all know something about that. So Maru, do you want to answer this question?
Yes. One of the things that I mentioned several times during the call today was plan. Let's plan, let's have it into the roadmap, and let's execute based on that. There is a strategy in place. What we need to understand is which is our goal from business perspective. For the tight deadlines are done based on the business. Black Friday, Christmas, we are not going to be able to change those dates. So the idea is to plan based on that and be as realistic as possible. If we are not going to be able to support 100% of the users that we were estimated, evaluate what we can do given the time frame we have. That is the most honest thing that we can do, because trying to achieve everything in 2 weeks, that is not something that is going to be feasible. So aligning expectations, providing our expertise opinion about what customers should expect is the best way to go, and plan based on that.
Yeah, and adding more people sometimes is not only the answer,
No.
Yeah, you know what? It's really important that there are a lot of things that you can negotiate with the client and also with the team that you are working with. And just finding an appropriate balance, it's always kind of difficult to find. But I am a true believer that nobody is miracle maker. No, just thinking that something is going to happen just because it's in your mind, it doesn't really mean that it's going to happen. So also being respectful with the point of view of the people that is saying that something that you are asking for is not that easy or that feasible in the time frame that you are providing or so on, and providing the safe space in order for you to have a, the the availability to say that out loud and to be listened to. It's part of the culture, and it's also part of the balance that we find with our clients. No.
All right. So we are 3 minutes past. So I just wanted to thank you, Maru and Lety, for this time. I know that it's a lot for you because you're really busy women. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Like I really appreciate the effort. I know everybody is really busy these days. So thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete.